I want to ask you something. Not about your vision, not about your strategy or your next launch or where you want to be in 5 years. I want to ask you about your Tuesday, about the ordinary day, the day where your business actually gets built, not the version you share online. I want to know the real one, the quiet daily work of being someone that is building something meaningful. Because here is what I keep seeing. You can have a vision that completely moves you. You can have a purpose that feels like it was made for you. You can have the strategy, the clients, the momentum, and still wake up on a Tuesday feeling completely wrong. Not broken, not ungrateful, just somehow out of place. Like you're working from someone else's blueprint. Today I want to talk about the part of your chart that answers that feeling, the sixth house. One of the most underestimated placements in entrepreneurship. And by the end of this video, I want to show you something specific, including how your sixth house actually changes over time that I think will completely shift how you see the way you work. Let's begin. Before we go into the sixth house, I want to make sure that we are starting from the same place. Because astrology has so many layers, and if I just jump in, some of it won't land the way I want to. So let me give you 3 building blocks very simply. The first layer is the signs. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, all 12 of them. The signs are the personalities of astrology. They are the expressions, the flavors, the style, the quality of energy. Think of them as the characters in the story. Each of them has its own way of moving, its own strengths, its own nature. When someone says, I'm a Capricorn, they usually refer to their sun sign. So the sign their sun was in the time they were born. But the signs are only one piece. The second layer is the planets. The planets are parts of you. So your moon is your inner emotional world, the self you come back to when no one is watching. Your sun is your conscious expression. It's the identity you're building in this lifetime. Your Venus is how you experience love, beauty, money, how you feel abundant. While your Mars is your drive, your instinct, and the way you take action and go after things. These aren't forces outside of you, they are you, different sides of one person. And the third layer is the houses. And this is where it becomes really interesting. If the signs are the personalities and the planets are the players, the houses are the stage, the specific areas of life where all of this plays out. There are 12 houses, and each one of them is a different area of lived experience. The first house is the self, the body, how you show up. The second house is money, resources, what you value. The sixth house does not get enough attention, especially in entrepreneurship. And I want to make the case that for entrepreneurs, this is the house that matters more than almost any other. And it's not because it is the flashiest, but because it is the most daily. And what you do every day is essentially your life. People obsess over the 10th house, the house of calling and career. They spend years trying to figure out their first house identity, and they talk endlessly about the 8th house. And those things matter. They do. But the 6th house is where your life is actually lived. Here's what I mean. You can have a 10th house built for legacy, Capricorn ambition, and Saturn authority. All of it pointing towards a career that lasts. But if your 6th house is misaligned, if how you work every single day is working against you, that 10th house potential just sits there as a vision, as a someday. The 6th house is the root system. It's the part of your chart that asks, how do you sustain yourself? How do you show up? Not on your best day, not when inspiration strikes, but consistently, week after week, season after season. It governs your daily rhythms, your work environment, how your body responds when something is off, the texture of your effort, whether it feels like flow or a fight. And then there is this. The sixth house is also the house of service. In medieval astrology, the sixth house was called the house of servants. That framing is outdated, but the essence is still the same. The sixth house is where we become useful. You know that feeling when someone calls you and asks you for your advice on something you have developed a skill on? That's your sixth house. It's not that you feel pride in doing it, it's more that you feel useful. You're helping someone else with the skills you have. And for those of us that are on a spiritual path, and I'm guessing since you're here, you are one of those too, then this actually becomes really important. Because along the way, you will have insights and downloads and clarity about something specific to you that is actually quite rare to have. Not everyone sees what you see. And the sixth house is where all of this wisdom becomes useful, becomes grounded into your reality, into your details of your everyday. It is the bridge between what you receive and what you give. And here's the part that almost no one talks about. Because when your sixth house is misaligned, it doesn't just make the work harder. It can make success itself feel empty. I'll come back to that in a moment. Let me be direct about what this actually means for your business. So you can have a brand that is well positioned, an offering that is genuinely needed, content that is working, an audience that is growing, and still have a business that feels draining. Not because you built the wrong thing, because you built it in a way that doesn't fit who you are. When your sixth house is out of alignment, the symptoms are very specific. There is the constant over effort, where you're working harder than your results require. Not because you lack skill or intelligence, but because the way you have structured your work creates resistance at every step, and there is stagnation that makes no sense, where you're doing all the right things, technically, but nothing moves, because the shape of how you work doesn't match the person doing it. And then there is the one I want to mention most carefully, because I think a lot of people watching this is going to recognize it, and that is that success feels strangely flat. Revenue arriving and feeling nothing. Goals reached with a strange absence of satisfaction. A business that looks right from the outside and feels like it belongs to someone else on the inside. That flatness is not a character flaw, and it's not that you're not grateful. This is valuable information. This is your sixth house telling you the how of what you're building is not yet completely yours. And I want to show you exactly what this looks like, because I have lived this. I have a very specific story about this that completely changed how I understand work, and it's coming up next. My sixth house is in Taurus. Taurus is the sign of beauty, of the physical senses, of needing your environment to feel good in order to accomplish something. For a long time, I was unaware of this, and being unaware led me down this route. So I worked as an artist in Oslo, and I had an atelier in the middle of the city, and I was very motivated and I loved creating art, But to get to my atelier, I had to walk through a specific part of the city every morning where there was a lot of poverty and the pavement was gray with all these sticky gums to it. And it was things you cannot unsee when you are the kind of person that I am. I am a deep empath and I feel environments in the way people feel the weather. And by the time I got to my studio, I was already depleted. I had already absorbed so much of what I had around me that I had nothing left. I remember I sat at my desk, I looked at my work, and for that whole year, I didn't produce anything worth mentioning. And it wasn't because I lacked the talent or because I wasn't trying, and it wasn't because I didn't want to be there. It was because the journey there had already used me up. That's what a sixth house misalignment feels at the most basic. You arrive at work and you're already emptied. Now I live in one of the most beautiful places I've seen. I get to wake up to watch the sunrise over the fjord. There's mountains and ocean everywhere I look. And my workspace is something I've built with so much attention and care so that it feels nourishing for me to be there. Because with Taurus on the sixth house, nothing escapes me. The book I'm writing in has to be beautiful and it has to feel good on the cover. And the pen I'm writing with has to feel right on the pages and sit right in the hand. Like everything needs to feel good. And it's all those small details that makes that environment feel safe and mine. I've spent years getting this exactly right. And I don't apologize for any of it. Because I've learned that for my chart, this isn't fuzziness. This is the foundation. When all of that is in place, I don't have to motivate myself to work. I want to be there. The environment calls me in, which means that my willpower and my focus and my motivation has somewhere to land and grow. But when that environment is wrong, my willpower has nothing to stand on, and it cannot build in something unstable. That's what the sixth house really taught me. It's not that discipline don't matter. It's that when your sixth house is aligned, your drive and motivation finally have a foundation, and that's when they actually can do what they're meant to. Same person, different environment, completely different outcome. The sign on your sixth house cusp changes everything about how you work. Let me walk you through the 4 elements, not as a complete guide, but as a mirror. Let's begin with the fire signs. Aries, Leo, and Sag. These are entrepreneurs who are built to work with energy and momentum. They need their work to feel alive, to have stakes and be moving somewhere. Sitting still doesn't just bore them, it actually drains them physically. Their sustainability comes from channeling that inner fire in the right direction. But the thing to watch is they can burn through themselves. If they just keep going without taking any breaks, yeah, you know how that goes. The work here is to build a rhythm that holds the fire without using it up. Then we have Earth on the sixth house. Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. These entrepreneurs are made for the long game. They need structure, not as limitation, but as a launch pad. For Virgo, precision is a form of integrity. The detail matters. The standard matters. For Taurus, as I know very personally, the senses are the instrument. The environment is the work. Everything in the space needs to feel right. The thing to watch out for as an earth sign is to not become too rigid and perfectionist about your work before you deliver it. So the 80-20 rule is a very good rule to know as an earth sign in the sixth house. Because if you just keep refining and perfecting and never actually publish or show your work, you're going to be your own worst enemy. Then we have air in the sixth house. These entrepreneurs are fueled by variety. They need to have conversations, mental aliveness. The same task, the same people, the same environment, day after day, that quietly kills their best thinking. What sustains them is connection, interesting ideas, other people, purpose that is bigger than their own business. One thing to watch if you're an air sign is you can spread your energy a bit too thin, have lots of things started and not many finished. The real power is when they also go deep and not just wide. Then we have water in the sixth house. This is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. These entrepreneurs move in cycles. There's times of deep productive flow and times when they genuinely need to pull back. Both are part of how they work. But treating the withdrawal as failure is one of the most expensive mistakes a water sign can make. Scorpio in the sixth house need work that actually matters to them. They actually don't wear out from working hard. They wear out of working on things that feels meaningless. Give them something real to dig into and they are unstoppable. And Pisces on the sixth house is probably one of the most misunderstood placements when it comes to building a business. These are visionaries, and their best work comes in open, unstructured time, the kind that most business advice tells them to eliminate. An entrepreneur with Pisces here who has forced themselves into a rigid daily schedule is often working far below what they're actually capable of. For them, it's not about making more structure, but to allow for flow states to arrive. Okay, so now that you understand what the sixth house is and how it works, I want to leave you with something you can really use. I have 3 questions that might be the most useful thing you visit this week. Take these to your journal or hold them on a walk or just let them sit somewhere in your awareness as you move through the week. The first one. When does work actually feel genuinely like you? And what does that actually look like? Maybe it's the environment or the time of day or the kind of task, and not what it should look like, what it actually looks like when resistance drops and things just move. The second one, what is your body already telling you about where alignment is missing? Your sixth house speaks through the body. Fatigue, resistance, heaviness. Those things are not random. It's information. So what is your body already saying? And the third one, if you fully trusted how you're actually designed to work, not as an indulgence, but as a real requirement, what would your business look like? How would you structure your week? What would you stop doing? And what would you finally allow yourself to begin? That question has a real answer. And the sixth house is part of how you find it. We love big visions. And that's fine. Visions matter. They orient us and give our work direction. But your life, your actual life, is built in the everyday. In how you begin your morning, how you move through your Tuesday, whether your workspace supports you or depletes you even before you've started, whether the work actually fits who you are. The sixth house is one of the foundations of a sustainable business, not because it tells you what to build, because it tells you how to build it in a way that you can sustain. Not just for a season, but for the full length of a career. In the work I do for entrepreneurs, this is usually one of the first places we go and have a look. before strategy, before positioning, before the next launch, we look at how they work, whether the daily structure they've built actually fits them. And when it does, when there's a real alignment between the person and how they work, something shifts. The effort feels different. The days feel more like theirs. The business starts to feel like something they've built, not something they have to manage. If something in this conversation opened a question for you, I invite you to look at your chart this week. Find the sign on the 6th house cusp. Notice if there's any planets inside that house. And ask yourself honestly, how much of how I work is actually in alignment with what you find there? That question is not small. And the rest of this channel is built around questions exactly like this. The 2nd house, your relationship to money and value. The 8th house, the deeper undercurrents of transformation and power in your work. The 10th house, the architecture of your calling and how you want to be known. Each conversation adds a layer. Each layer gives you more precision.